All right, when we left off assignment 3 with these demos, we had finished our sketches of the portrait that we were going to try to match. And now, since then, we've gotten exposures. Informed by our sketches, we tried to get exposures that would first and foremost have the composition that we wanted. So we can always crop the composition, but we can't create more space in processing. So I shot more than I needed so that I can crop down to the square. And then the composition I see is maybe about like this, like that area. Just to show you a quick demo. If I copy that and then view it, I don't know why Preview doesn't show it anymore that way. You know, it would be something close to this composition. A little bit more of the chin in there, but something close to that. Okay, I also want to choose the exposure that has the most potential for these creative choices. So we lit from the side, we diffused the light so that the highlights aren't so strong that they're blasting out. And in the shadows, we don't want to lose all visual information like it does here because we can create that in processing. We also wanted to control the focus so that the eyes were the main thing in focus. And that by the time you get to the back of the head and the ear, the focus pulls. And in this shot, the front of his nose is actually out of focus as well. In my shot, the front of the nose is still in focus. But it's better to shoot too much in focus than not enough in focus. So that's an area that I'll have to process a little bit. Right now, its focus is slightly less than the eye. But to get all of that focal range, I had to keep the nose more in focus.
How could you tell it's different from the eye?
It's just slightly. It's hard to tell on the projector, but when I look at the pixels here,
Right.
they're a lot softer as they transition
Right.
than it is with the nice crisp definition around your eye. But I'll bring that out more in processing. I also think that this model probably honestly just had a bigger nose. And especially had bigger ears, because noses and ears grow throughout your lifetime. And so I couldn't find someone in their late 80s or early 90s to shoot that would have a nose that goes out that far. So, you use what you've got. And I'm going to have to age you up a lot, Augie, to match, but it will be fun. All right, so that's the best exposure of my lot. So what did I do? I opened them all up in Preview, and I looked at the potential for them. And some of them, the shutter speed was too long, and they got blurry. I like the natural color of the lighting here, but then I had to augment it a little bit and got some better shots. So I picked my best shot to work with, and we go from there. So now I'm going to open up that picture in Photoshop. And now we're going to go about making those changes. So the first decision I'm going to make is how to crop it. But I don't want to go immediately to the crop tool and just say, okay, make it a perfect square. And then move that square right here. We're actually not going to crop. So, because if I do that, then I've lost a lot of information that I might regret losing. So before I do a crop, I am first going to use guides. And we've used guides before on the other assignments. And I just want to use the move tool, make sure I have the ruler showing. If you don't have the ruler showing, just hit Command R. And this is how I can kind of size up my image and figure out where the edges should be. So I click in the ruler and I drag out. And I set my distances.
Which one's the ruler? The one right on top, or?
Yeah, they're on the top and side. If you don't see these numbers, then you need to hit Command R.
Oh, maybe I took it off. That's not.
Yeah, they can go on and off. And so what I'm looking at is basically my format sketch, right? I might drag this off to the side so I can be informed by this as well. And I want to get close enough with my guide to the ear that I still have that space, that I'm basically making this same negative space here with the shoulder that this photo is. And though I don't have the hat, you know, I can come pretty close. So I like that one. Then the top, I'm looking at where the eye line is, where that should crop. And then the bottom, underneath the chin.
Where were you grabbing the lines from?
By clicking right on the ruler and then dragging out, like holding down, clicking and dragging from the ruler,
yeah.
you'll be able to bring the guides in.
There you go.
Okay, now that's, to me, I think is pretty much matching up with this picture, but this doesn't look like a perfect square to me because the faces are slightly different. Or I might need to, let's see, I guess move that down a little bit.
You're trying to create a square.
Just because I'm trying to match this format. So yes, I'm trying to match a square.
Oh.
You're going to try to match the format of the photo you're trying to match.
Okay, I see.
Okay, now to test that out, I can use the crop tool, and it should stick right to those guides. And it will show me where the third lines are, even before I hit crop. And remember, we drew those third lines, and it's really important that my third lines hit the eye. So we're good side to side, but not top to bottom. So I need to adjust that. So fine tuning it. Okay, so that's about right now. And then I can hit return. Now I didn't make a copy first because when you crop, it cuts through everything. So it doesn't make sense to make a copy first. But here's the other thing we can do instead. Whoops. Let's see.
Making copies.
So once you've cropped, move your guides, once you think it's correct, right to the edges of your crop. They should stick to it. And then you can look at your image size and see. And mine is almost exactly a square, but not quite. But it's going to work, just because the faces are a little bit different. Okay? But now I want to use this on my original picture. So this is a little complicated, but this is what you're going to do. Now that it's cropped, you're going to use the marquee selection, the rectangular selection, select the whole image, and then say edit, copy. And then you're going to go in your history, which is right here, or you can see by going to Window, History. And you're going to go back before you cropped, okay, to get your whole image. And then what you're going to do is say Edit, Paste. And what it will do is it will paste your correct image on top of your full photo. So you have one that's cut out correctly. The problem with Photoshop is when you copy and paste, it will just put it right in the middle, so it doesn't always line it up. So then you have to use your Move tool and line it up, not with your guides, but with your image. So I'm going to hide my guides, and I'm going to take the resolution down a little bit, or the opacity rather, down, and then line up the photo, and it will snap into place. And for fine tuning, you can use your arrow keys as well. So there, it doesn't matter if I have it on or off. That photo is in the same place. Okay. Now the reason that's helpful is because now I can drag my guides right to the side of that image, and then my guides are perfectly placed on my original exposure. Why did I have to crop it all? I had to crop in order to get the third lines, in order to really make sure it was in the right place. So now, at this point, I'm going to save it. And I'll save it as my name and then assignment 3. To the desktop. Because now I have 2 layers that I can work with.
Okay, can you crop lines? And I was redoing it and I didn't see anything past getting the crop lines.
Okay, so to review, I'm going to go back in our history before we did anything. I've saved it so I can do this, and if I mess it up, I can still go back. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning. And the first thing we do is we use the move tool, and we're looking at our photo, and we're looking at our sketch, and we try to eyeball, and the key word is eyeball, where the line should be. Doing the best job we can. But unfortunately, that's not good enough. So what we then do is we use the crop tool once we've drawn the guides. And we're using it for the third lines that it shows us. So I thought I was right, but my format sketch shows me that when you draw third lines over this image, his lines line up right with that top third line. So that made me understand that I needed to adjust my crop box a little bit.
Now, when I was...
So now, I want it, there's no way I can move my guides while it's still in process of being cropped. So I have to crop it. And then I can adjust my guides back and look at the image as it is. And then say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's the best I can do to match that format. But I've lost all the information from before. So once you have it cropped like this, what you're going to do is select everything using the rectangular marquee tool, or you can just say select all or Command A. And the guides help you do that cleanly. And then you are going to copy just to keep it in the clipboard of Photoshop. So now I've made a copy of this image, which is the right cropping. Then I go back in my history to before I cropped it. And now I'm going to paste in. So go to Edit, Paste, or Command V, and it will create a new layer for me, which is my cropped image. The only thing that's a little annoying is that my guides are back where they were before, not in the right place. So I'm going to turn off my guides by hitting Command semicolon, or going up to View, Show, and turn off guides. And then I have to use the Move tool and position my correctly cropped box back into the right place, because when you copy and paste in Photoshop, it just centers the image. Now to get it exactly correct, I take the opacity down on my cropped box, so it's just a faint image now, showing at only 50%. I zoom in and I line it up with the image until when I click and turn it off and on, it doesn't move at all. And you can use the arrow keys to kind of nudge it right into place. So now that's right on. It looks like it can nudge just a tiny bit. Yeah, so now when I turn it off and on, it's